So the Oyav of Ketzeis Hashem. I'm sorry, yes?
No. Following you. You're doing 4 different modes of depression.
Right. So this is the first one. So end of the first one is when someone's happy, even though circumstances cause him to be not happy, his reward will be V'oyav Ketzeis Hashem B'Kvarosri. He'll have Hashem shining on him. The second reason for depression. The Rabbi talks about the second reason for depression is when someone is depressed because of inyoni d'shmaya. Mili d'shmaya meaning he's depressed about a virus that he did, or sometimes lack of learning that he did. And this happens, and this is when somebody looks back at his life and he tells himself, "What did I accomplish? What did I learn? I've done so many bad things. I haven't done so many good things," and thinking about it can be depressing. Now, over here, the first solution, that everything that Hashem does is for the best, doesn't really fit, because the person chose to do so. The person chose to do these averos, and how is this all for the best? So, over here, for this type of depression, Dr. Rabbi says, he says 2 things. He says, first of all, you're bothered right now. You feel bad, right? You feel bad about the fact that you did something wrong. Why do you feel bad about it? What's really happening over here? Do you feel bad about it because your godly soul feels now that it's detached from Hashem and it didn't accomplish what it was supposed to accomplish, and you want to get better? If that's the case, Dr. Rabbi says, then usually these kind of bad thoughts do not happen in the middle of when someone is like These Dr. Rabbi says if it would be coming from the godly soul, then the godly soul would have to have set a time to it, because the godly soul is in general seichel and moral piseder. So I would have to sit down and think through my life and come up with a sach hakel, a total of what I did, and then feel bad about it. But more often than not, these thoughts of depression, of that I did so many bad things, they randomly enter a person's mind when he's at work, or even when he's learning and studying. And usually, what it ends up happening is it makes the person just depressed and in a bad mood, and it does not push him to do better. So Dr. Rabbi says, you think that you're feeling bad, and you're happy with your bad feeling. Oh, it's good that I feel bad because it shows that I care. But if that's the case, why is it distracting you and making you upset now and not doing what you're supposed to be doing? So that's a proof, says the Alter Rebbe, the fact that it's coming at random times and making you in a bad mood, that's a proof that really this is not coming from the godly soul. So it's true that you should be depressed about it. Yes, you did something wrong in the past, you did an avera, you didn't do a mitzvah, you should be depressed, you should feel bad about it. But your nefesh alikis, your godly soul, should feel bad about it. And your godly soul doesn't just randomly feel bad. Your godly soul will have to sit down and what they call either a farbrengen, or you have a time what we call a cheshbon nefesh, and you think through your life, and then you make a decision, and you feel bad about what happened, and you make a decision to go on and be better. But if this bad feeling is all-encompassing and just takes away from your day-to-day schedule, and you're not happy about it, then it's not coming from the right place. If it's not coming from the right place, then ignore it. The Rabbi says, push it away. Do not look at. Don't think about it for now, because it's coming from a bad place, which is only going to distract you from serving Hashem. So if you're depressed because of the bad things that you did in your life, or the lack of good things that you did in your life, so Dr. Rabbi says it's true. There's something called, there's a concept in Nigla called a gavriel and chefza. The chefza, the reason for depression is a valid reason, but right now you're approaching it in the wrong time and the wrong way. You're not coming from your godly soul. You're coming from your animal soul, and therefore now then it's wrong. If it's coming from the wrong place, it's a wrong feeling. So push it away for now. Say, I'll deal with it later. And then by the time of Habrengen, the time of Cheshbon HaNefesh, that's when you'll rethink it. There was a big chassid. It's a very long story, but the punchline was this chassid lost all of his money. Who was a gavriel, was a rich man. His name was Avrem Kashambiner, lived about 150 years ago. And he was one day he found out that it was, again, there's many details to the story, but the bottom line was he lost all of his money, and he became a big Baal Choiv. He was in debt. And it distracted him. His whole day he wasn't able to sit and learn. Constantly he kept the thoughts in his davening and his learning. How am I going to pay back all my debts? How am I going to support my family from now on? Until finally he made a decision. I'm going to think about it for 1 hour a day. Whatever, 2 to 3 o'clock, 1 hour a day I'm going to think about all my problems. And then whenever the thoughts came to him by davening and by learning, he said, okay, I'll think about it, just not now. I'll push it off later. And he again eventually got to the point that even in that hour, he didn't think about it. Because it was a trick that he used for himself, so self-control, to completely stop thinking about it, he wasn't able to yet. But he pushed it off for later. So that concept is a person, the Rabbi's suggestion to the person, if you're depressed about the godly things that you did wrong, the averis and the lack of mitzvahs, so then just train yourself to push it off to a different time and tell yourself, it's true, I have to feel depressed about it, but not now, and let me find a time for it. And then when that time comes, you'll think about it in the positive way. You'll think about it in a healthy way, and a healthy way means that you think about it, and you tell yourself, I did X, Y, Z, and it was very, very bad what I did, but I'm sorry, Hashem, and I won't do it again. And Hashem will forgive you. And then you'll go on and I'll be better afterwards. So if it's done in a healthy way, it doesn't have to destroy your life. If somebody thinks healthy about what he did wrong, he apologizes, he tells that he does tshuva, which is apology, and Hashem will forgive him, and then I'll go on right. So that's the second reason for depression. A person is depressed about the bad things that he did, or the lack of good things that he did. Then comes the third reason for depression. And the third reason for depression, I teach teenagers, Bachrim, and I find that this is the most common reason why Bachrim are depressed. And the third reason for depression is, the Alter Rebbe says it like this. The Alter Rebbe says it.
Due to bad teachers?
The third reason for depression, the way the Alter Rebbe says it is that when someone feels that he's having machshavas zoros, he's having negative thoughts. Even though he's, so to speak, working on himself for a long time already, he's controlling himself, he's not looking where he shouldn't be looking, he's not thinking about what he shouldn't be thinking, and yet anyway the bad thoughts enter his mind. In other words, what the Alter Rebbe seems to be saying is that when a person is depressed about a lack of accomplishment, when a person is working on himself in a certain area, whether it's for a few days, weeks, or months, or even years, a person expects to see growth. When it comes to a person studying lahavdil and secular studies, a person starting to be a doctor, after every year of medical school, he feels how he is advancing, and then you have residency, and you have a fellowship. There's always this, as you go along, you see results, and you see that you know more information, you see you're more successful in your medical career, and you feel that you're gaining and growing. But in Avodas Hashem, a person, let's say, has a problem with anger management. A person tends to get upset very quickly. So he decides, I'm going to work on myself, that even though somebody annoys me, someone upsets me, I'm not going to react, I'm going to hold it in, and I'm not going to say anything. And he works on himself for a long time, and he's successful, and he doesn't respond. He expects that eventually, after a while of working on himself, he shouldn't get annoyed in the first place. But he sees that he didn't change anything. He still keeps getting annoyed, and the struggle is still going. He constantly has to work on himself to not get upset. So he gets upset. So that itself is bothering. It's depressing. I'm working on something, and I'm trying to change myself. I want to become a better kind of person, and I'm not getting anywhere. I feel like I'm the same person I was beforehand. I once saw an older chassid. He's close to his 80s. He was sitting, he was standing on a porch, and he was like looking out into the horizon. So I went over to him, I wanted to see what's he thinking about. I didn't ask him. I just stood over there. He still said to me, and he says, I still want ice cream. He was bothered, like he hasn't had ice cream for 50 years. He's a chassid, he doesn't give in to taivas. But he's thinking to himself, look, I didn't change anything. I still want ice cream like a little kid. It tastes good, I still want it. So he's not going to go and eat it because of his position, not because of his avodas Hashem. But it was bothering him that he didn't change himself. And similarly, so in any area of life, remember, the second reason for depression we mentioned before was he was depressed not because of the lack of accomplishment, because of the actual bad things that a person did. So, for example, if I get angry and I lose myself and I scream, then I'm depressed. Why did I get angry? Why did I get upset? Why did I do something stupid? But now we're saying, no, I got angry and I controlled myself. But I'm upset. Why do I keep getting angry? Why am I not able to change my inner feelings? This is the third type of depression. In other words, it's a lack of accomplishment. It can also work in a way of learning. There are some people that they start learning Gemara, they buy themselves an art scroll shas, and they read from the art scroll, and then they get a chavrusa, and they're studying and they're learning, and after weeks or months of studying, they can open up a Gemara without an art scroll and read the Gemara itself, and they can actually read a daf Gemara. And then there are people that do the same thing, and 3 years down the line, they still don't know what does bishlama mean. They just don't get it. And they look at themselves and say, I'm trying, I'm learning, I got a chavrusa, I took down notes, and I got all the books that are translating, and I'm still not changing. I thought that by this time I can open a Shulchan Aruch on my own and learn. So I'm pushing myself, I'm trying, and I'm not accomplishing anything. So I don't feel like I'm wasting time because I'm actually studying all the time, but I didn't change myself. I didn't get to a better place. There are times when you think about, okay, I've been learning for the past year, 2 or 3, but before that I didn't learn for however many years it was. Then I'm upset about not learning. But here someone is learning. He's not upset about the fact that he's not learning. He is learning. He's upset about the fact that how come I didn't change? How come I'm not a scholar anymore already? Why didn't I reach the level of other people that start off at the same time as me or even after me, and they're so much more successful than me? They started after me and they can already learn Gemara better than me. And again, it works in positive or negative. Where a person is working on something internal and he's doing the right things, but he doesn't feel that he actually made a change in his life. And this can be very depressing because a person is working on something, a person is working on anger management, a person is working on learning to become a scholar, and it's not just the actions that he's doing all the time. He wants to change. He wants to reach a level where he's past that. And he feels that he didn't accomplish. So this is the third reason for depression. The third reason, so for this, the Alter Rebbe's answer is as follows. Alter Rebbe's answer is, it's not such a, I can't say satisfying, but it's not an answer that you're looking forward to. But the Alter Rebbe's answer is like this. The Alter Rebbe brings a pasuk where it says by Yitzchak Avinu. Yitzchak Avinu, when he wanted to, before he passed away, he wanted to give the blessing. It was way before he passed away, actually, a lot before that. He thought he was going to die. He ended up living another 50 years later, but he wanted to give a blessing to his son Esav, and he told Esav, go hunt a deer for me and shecht it properly. V'aseili mat'amim kasher ahavti. Make delicacies for me. Make some good food for me. So the Zohar says that it doesn't say v'aseili, say to Michael Toim, wherever in a single lashon. It says in plural, mat'amim, that there are different types of good food. What does it mean, different types of good food? So the Zohar explains that in general, in good food, there's basically sweet, and then there's spicy foods. There are sweet foods like ice cream or things that are sweet that just are naturally, we like them naturally. Then there are foods that are naturally salty or spicy, and you have to work with it to spice it just the right way that you can actually enjoy it. Says the Zohar, there's a type of service to Hashem, which Hashem looks at it and it's just pure, it's just sweet, and Hashem is happy with the way it is. That's the avodah of tzaddikim, people that they just get it all the way. Everything goes perfect for them, they daven, they learn, and they're just doing what Hashem wants of them. But then there's a type of person, which is most people, that they're too spicy and they have to constantly maneuver, they have to constantly work with the spices to get it the right way. These are the people like us that we're trying to change ourselves and we're constantly struggling. There are people that Hashem is happy that they can open a Gemara and in 10 minutes just go through 5 blot Gemara. And so Hashem looks at that, it's beautiful, it's so sweet. But then there are people that have a hard time with the Gemara. They're trying with the Gemara, they're trying the Shulchan Aruch, and they can spend an hour and only get through a few lines. So it's like too spicy, but they're working, they're trying to fix it up, they're trying to make it the best possible way. So says the Alter Rebbe, that's a different type of delicacy that Hashem likes. For Hashem it's very juicy. So what Alter Rebbe is telling us is that your goal is, you wanted to accomplish, you wanted to change yourself, you wanted to now become a person that knows how to learn. You wanted a person that's not an angry person. But it's not what Hashem wants of you. Hashem wants you to constantly have the struggle, and yet at the same time constantly fight with it and overcome it. Hashem wants you to be it's kafi and nisabcha. But they asked me not to mix in Basil Gani. I had enough of Basil Gani already.
Who said that?
The guy next to you.
Hey, that's all.
He didn't say I had enough of it. He said, let's go on to something else. So the Alter Rebbe says that Hashem likes it. Hashem likes that type of avodah. So someone that wants to change himself and become a not angry person, someone that wants to become a scholar, so there's a joke they say. There was one time there was a person that came to shul and he did Hagbah. And as he's doing Hagbah, he stumbled, and I don't know if he actually fell or not, but he almost fell. So he was devastated, he was very embarrassed. So he decided he's not coming back into shul before he makes sure that he can do it properly next time. He went home, he bought himself some kind of barbells, and he started practicing every day. He's picking it up, lifting the weights, and he's doing a very good job to it. Finally, after 3 weeks of working out, where he could pick up the barbells at the ends and pick them up just as a Sefer Torah, he's comfortable now, he won't be embarrassed. He walks into the shul 3 weeks later, sure enough, the Rabbi didn't see him, the Rabbi calls him up, gets up to the Sefer Torah, picks it up like a big thing, opens up, 7 I'm with him, all the way around, sits down, he's all happy, proud of himself. Everybody in the shul is looking at him. Everyone's looking with a funny face. Looking, and he doesn't understand. Why is everyone, he did a great job. He didn't falter for an inch. So the Rabbi tells him, we gave you an aliyah, we didn't give you hagba. So sometimes we want to become scholars, and we want to have we have these grandiose ideas. I want to be a person that never gets upset. But that's not the job that Hashem gave us. Hashem gave you a job that your job is something else completely. Your job is to struggle and to fight it. To struggle and to fight it. That's what Hashem wants of you. And when a person understands that, so it makes him, again, it's not satisfying in the sense because a person starts off with one goal in mind. Now the Rabbi says your whole goal is wrong. And if you rethink what your goal in life is, you'll be more satisfied. So it's,
So in a situation like that, you're working, you're trying, you're not happy with the result. How do you figure out what it is you are supposed to do?
The facts are you're working on trying. This is what Hashem wants of you. You should be very happy by doing what you're supposed to be doing. We can understand this a little bit when it comes to, let's say, playing a game or sports. When someone's playing, let's say, basketball against somebody else. So a 20-year-old playing against a 10-year-old, there's no match. So the 20-year-old is going to play the game, and he's going to feel like, what's the point? The 10-year-old will never touch the ball, and he's always going to be winning. It's going to be a boring game for the 20-year-old. So he'd rather play someone against someone his height, someone his experience. So he plays against somebody his on the same level as him, but then he doesn't always win the game. So if you ask the person, so what's your goal? You're playing the game, you want to win, right? So just play against a 10-year-old, you're going to win all the time. He says, yeah, but I want it to be some kind of challenge. I want to be able to lose sometimes. I wanted to get the ball blocked a little bit, and then I'll win. But there's a certain excitement in the game, which is not just about the result of winning. So Hashem says the same thing. Your goal is to win. Well, that's not the goal really to win. Because if to win, you can play against a 10-year-old, then you'll always win. I'll create angels, and the angels that's what the angels do. They're always winning. But for them, it's no kunz, as they say, or there's tzaddikim. By tzaddikim, they're always serving Hashem the way Hashem wants to do. So again, it's not what Hashem really wants of us.
So, how do you deal with this phenomenon, the why me phenomenon, which is this person has it so easy. I surely do not. Whatever they do, it comes to them naturally. Whatever I do, it's an obstacle every time.
You know baseball?
I played adult baseball for 15 years. In fact, I can't hold my neck right now.
So I should give an example. The pitcher is not going to complain, why is the outfielder, why is he just sitting there and almost never gets the ball? And I'm constantly throwing the whole time. And the outfielder have the same complaint to the pitcher. Like, no, he's all in the limelight. The screen's always on him, and he has all he gets the win or the loss. I don't get anything. It's a different job. It's a why me. Everybody needs each other. In order for the team to win, you must have an outfielder, you must have a pitcher. Who's better? Either one can win or lose the game. If each one plays his position properly, the game will be won. If each one is lax, then the game will be lost. So it's the why me is because it's like the person that wants to do Hagbah, and he goes, here, I'm doing Hagbah. No one asks you to do Hagbah. In order for the Sefer Torah, the davening to proceed the way it's supposed to, each person has his role. So your role is whatever your role is. Your role is to struggle. Your role is to have constant, whatever is anger problems or other distractions, and to constantly fight with them. And then there are people that Hashem chose them for whatever reason. Maybe they're taller, they have a better arm, but they're the pitchers. They're the ones that are always there. Everything's going good.
So, even in that example, you're still going to have this why me situation where the outfielder is going to say, wow, I always wish I was a pitcher, but I just don't have the talent. So why did Hashem choose me for this job?
So once in a while, he'll make an amazing catch, and then he'll understand it. Sometimes, or he'll see another outfielder saving the game. And there are many outfielders that save the game because of a catch that they made. So it's definitely true. So it might have not have happened yet, but the fact that the outfielder is there, that makes the batter be careful. He can't bat in that direction because there's someone to catch the ball. So he has a major impact on the game without him noticing it. So it's not healthy for an outfielder to want to be a pitcher. He won't do his job properly. If he wants to be the pitcher the whole time, he's not happy with where he is, and the game won't be played as well.
And what about one more step where the outfielder is benched because he isn't any good?
That was the other option. We said that was the second reason for depression, that he messed up, made too many bloopers, so now he's out.
Well, he tries. I mean, he surely tries. Does everything he possibly can do.
If he tries, no, that doesn't work. This doesn't work in this case.
Practice.
There's no what do they call the bench players? There's nobody else. It's just 9 people on the team. That's all there is. They're not going to bench him, no matter how bad he is. There's nobody else there. Every person has his job. There's nobody else. There's a huge story. I think we'll finish now because we want to get to Karbanos already. But just to finish off with the story, what?
Fourth reason.
Okay, the story and then the fourth reason, but we'll do it in short. There was a Italian conductor. Italian conductor. His name was Toscanini. You know the story?
No, I haven't heard of Toscanini.
Oh, okay. So he had a biographer, someone that was writing his biography. So he kept, every once in a while, would go over to his house and have discussions with him about the latest things that are happening, writing a book about him. So one night, the biographer called up Toscanini and he said, "Can I come over tonight and let's discuss some, have some questions for the book?" So Toscanini said, "Tonight I can't do it." Says, "Why?" There's a symphony that's overseas that I was their conductor, and tonight they're playing, and I have to listen to it over the radio, so I have to focus. I won't be able to talk. It's going to be whatever, it's an hour long, so I won't be able to talk. So the biographer says, "Great, can I come over and watch? I mean, I'd like to see how a conductor listens to an orchestra. It's probably not like we listen to orchestra. He knows what he's listening to." So Toscanini said, "Fine, but you got to be quiet. No phones, nothing allowed, no noise whatsoever. You really have to focus." So sure. So he came over. He turns on the radio. Toscanini is listening, and the biographer is watching him listen, and everything's quiet. It's a nice. I mean, if the guy is a biographer of a conductor, he obviously appreciates music as well. And when the hour is done, so it was beautiful. To his ear, to the biographer's ear, it was a beautiful symphony. So he asked him, "So how was it?" He says, "Terrible." So, "What do you mean?" So one of the violinists didn't show up. I said, "What?" So he said, "Yeah, whatever. Okay, let's get back. Let's continue talking." So the biographer didn't believe it. So he called up the next day. He found out who was the one that actually conducted the orchestra, the symphony. He called him up, and he says, "How many musicians were there last night?" He says, 120. He says, "Did everybody show up?" He says, "No, one violinist didn't show up." So the point of what we're trying to say is that for us, we can't tell the difference. But if someone's a conductor realizes, no, that one violinist makes a major difference in the whole orchestra, and he was mevakal, the whole thing was a waste of time because that one guy didn't show up. So in our Marshall, Hashem looks at us and Hashem says, "I need every single one of you. There's no one that can replace you. But I have such a stupid job. My job is constantly to struggle and fight with myself. That's what I want from you. And without that, nothing is worth it." So every person has his job in life, and he has to know this is what Hashem designated for me, and if I'm not, and this is what Hashem wants of me, and this is my goal. I am not supposed to do a Haggadah. I have to get an Aliyah. That's what I'm supposed to be doing now. So let me be happy with what I'm doing. The fourth reason for depression is that a person